Hello and welcome to the Dynasty Arsenal podcast. This is our first episode of what will be a weekly podcast that we run all season, where we're basically just gonna kind of shoot the shit, talk about games on the weekend, storylines for the season, and I'm Sammy Stacks. Some of you may know me from the Flock League. That's probably how you found this, but I'm joined by my good friend and co-host Tags. Tags, what's going on?
How's it going, man?
Good. Excited for this first show for us. We're gonna start with a little intro to ourselves, just so everybody listening can get a little idea of our history with fantasy football, how long we've been playing, that kind of thing. So, my career in fantasy football is quite young. I am Canadian, for those of you who don't know. So obviously the NFL is not nearly as big up here. And I didn't start playing until 2020, so it has not been long at all.
They don't have fantasy CFL.
They do not. They do not have fantasy CFL. No. And I've never been a CFL fan. Never.
Johnny Manziel, first round pick, baby.
There you go. Exactly. So yeah, I didn't start playing until 2020. Played redraft for a few years, and then I got into Dynasty only 2 years ago in 2023. So this will be my third season of playing Dynasty, and yeah, it's been ever since I started, I've been hooked. I'm in 15 plus Dynasty leagues now, several of them with you, obviously, and yeah. I'd like to say I'm pretty knowledgeable. I put a lot of time into it, even though it's only been a few years. So hopefully the people like what I have to say.
It is wild. I've been in a few leagues with you now. It's wild to think you've only been playing since 2020. So did you just jump right in full steam, like once you kind of got interested in the NFL? Like, what was the transition from being interested in the NFL to then having 15 dynasty leagues? What was the build up to that?
So once I got into Dynasty in 2023, I think the first season maybe 3 or 4 leagues, and then in 2024 last summer I added like 6, and then this summer the rest. Just they're always wanting more.
Oops.
You know, we joke about this all the time. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, how'd this happen? We got to find the guy who's responsible for this. It's just everybody knows. You know, you get hooked, and more. You want more and more and more and more. And my love for the NFL now came through fantasy football. I would watch the Super Bowl every year, but other than that, didn't really watch until I started playing fantasy, started rooting for my players, and the love for the game has grown from there. What's your brief history?
It's funny, as mine's kind of opposite. So I had been watching football since I was probably 8, back in old 2000. Now I'm dating myself. Mine's the opposite in the fact that, like, you got in from playing fantasy football and being like, this is cool, I should watch the games. Mine's the opposite, where it's like, the games are cool, but like it could be better, could be more fun.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So my first Dynasty league I joined was 2002 at the age of 10.
Wow.
And it was in a very old school league where we all met up in a room and drafted.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad was supposed to be the one who was like kind of drafting the team, and I ended up just like taking over all of it.
Okay.
And my first fantasy championship was 2004. Shout out Dante Culpepper.
Wow.
Sean Alexander, Donald Driver, and Antonio Gates for bringing home that ship for me. So I've just always been playing. I've been in a redraft league with a bunch of friends for about, I think we're going on year 18 of it, and just got into Dynasty probably 2021, 2020, around that range.
Okay.
So kind of the same time you did. Up until then, it was all redraft leagues. And now I'm in like 16 Dynasty leagues, and I'm just like looking around like, how did I get to be this way?
Yeah, exactly.
What has become of me?
Yeah, I'm waiting.
I meant to only add my goal was to only add 2 or 3 leagues this off season, and I added 6. So
Yeah. Too many good ideas, you know?
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. And we've started, I'm sure we'll get to this at some point more in depth, but we've started, coming up with unique ideas for how to change strategy and stuff like that with league settings, obviously.
Yeah.
Manipulating
As if
rookie drafts
as
and
if
things
super
like that.
as if like super flex and that stuff wasn't enough. We're just like, you know what, let's get crazy. Let's do an auction league where the auction carries over to the rookie draft.
Yeah.
Let's do our LDL league where first round picks are draftable at each year.
Yeah, I think what will be good maybe in the summer is we can go through those different ideas and sort of talk about what we like about them, what we don't like about them, and just give some people ideas on how to different ways that you can have fun with it and change the league settings.
Yeah, because I feel like once you hit like League 12 of Dynasty leagues, now you're just like, all right, how can we get weird with it?
Yeah, exactly. And just having like, oh, this league has 2 flex, this one has 3. It's not enough change, you know. You need different. Okay.
This league has kickers.
Yeah, Dynasty kickers.
That's where we draw the line. We don't get that crazy.
Cam Little 101.
Right.
So I figured, a lot of people are finding this from the Flock League. And so what I can do every week is give a little update on what's going on with the squad. Obviously, you'll see it in the videos, but this will be a little more candid, less putting on the show kind of thing.
Yeah.
First matchup here, I'm up against the Devs, right? I mentioned this in the video. It should be releasing Wednesday evening. We're recording this on Wednesday, but so the video should be out by the time anybody's listening to this. Match up against the Devs. I'm a slight favorite. But the big thing about this matchup is Thursday night they have the Jalen Hurts AJ Brown stack. So I'm not going to be able to. I'm not going to be able to enjoy the kickoff game as much as I would like to.
It's going to be a little bit more stressful for you rather than a fun experience.
Yeah, exactly. But so if anybody goes on flockfantasy.com, the Flock League is there. You can just view it. You can view the rosters and stuff. So if anybody wants to follow along and root for your boy, all the players are on there, and we can talk more about how that went on our episode next week. For today, we want to just sort of just talk about some team storylines, some player storylines in a dynasty context that we're excited to watch, be it in week 1 or for the whole season. I know that Tags brought several teams that he's interested to see how their offenses played out. I've brought a team or two, as well as some individual players that I think are interesting buys or sells or different things like that. I guess I can go first.
Go for it.
The first guy. This is a guy that I love in redraft this year, and it's carried over to Dynasty. It's Chase Brown, running back on the Cincinnati Bengals. Going into draft season, after the 2024 year ended, he was very high on my sell list. I didn't have any shares. He was obviously like left for dead. Well, not left for dead, but wasn't valued at all going into 2024. And he just completely took over. Obviously finished the year really strong. And then we get to January and I'm thinking they're going to draft somebody. Like he obviously did well with the opportunity that they gave him, but we're going into a really good running back class in 2025 NFL draft. And this guy is just going to get replaced. And then the Bengals kept on bringing running backs in on visits. I remember they brought in Hampton, Travion, Quinshawn, Caleb Johnson, a bunch of depth guys. They were bringing everybody in. And I was like, if I had any shares, they'd be gone. I would just sell them. I do not want to deal with this. It was him and Tyrone Tracy that I was big on. Like, I just think they're going to get replaced.
Yeah.
And then all they do is draft Taj Brooks in the 6th round. And then he avoids any like veteran addition. Like J.K. Dobbins was a thought. Nick Chubb. Like every time these guys are visiting with teams, it was like the Bengals are in the mix. And then even Brian Robinson. Everybody's like, when Brian Robinson's going to get traded, it's like, oh, Bengals would be a good spot for him. Chase Brown there was one running back in the entire league who over the last 9 weeks of the season averaged a higher snap percentage, and it was Kyron Williams. He's like the complete workhorse. And the backfield is Taj Brooks, a 6th round rookie who wasn't that great of a prospect, and Samaje Perine, who last year couldn't get on the field more than like 20% of the snaps on the Chiefs, who lost their starter. And over those like last 9 weeks, I have it pulled up here, 20.6 PPR points per game, which was good for RB4 in points per game over that span. He's averaging 5.5 targets over that span. Just like, and it's the same situation. Their defense still sucks. They didn't add any weapons in the passing game. It's just going to be Jamar, T, and Chase Brown. And this should be a top 5 offense again, and he has no competition again. And so I think I have like 7 shares now. When going into the NFL draft, I had none. I bought him everywhere. I know that in our auction that we did, you and I had a little discussion about, because I think he went for like 100 in our, and so we went for 10% of the budget, and you were like, that is insane. And I was like, honestly, I'm pretty close to that. What do you think about him?
I think my sentiment on Chase Brown has flipped quite a bit the past few weeks. Kind of seeing what the Bengals did in the offseason. I was pretty shocked that they did not draft another running back. Like imagine a Travion Henderson in this offense, or Judkins, or even a guy like Tootin would have been great in this offense, and they just kind of passed on everybody. I think Taj Brooks is decent, but they obviously didn't draft him to cut into any like meaningful workload into Chase Brown's workload.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to get, my only concern is durability. He had durability issues coming from college. And the biggest questions coming out of the draft was, can he even handle an NFL workload? I think last year he kind of really reinforced the opinion that he can, because they gave him quite a bit of a workload last year. But I think that's in the back of my mind. That's still a concern I have for him. But outside of that, that's my only concern. Like, he's in a top 5 offense. He's going to be in games where teams can't key in on him. Like, teams they can't. Like, you can't just divert some of your defense to stopping Chase Brown when you have guys like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins on the outside.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and I think also that's going to pull the safeties to Chase and T, which means a lot of short crossers and dump offs are going to be open all day to Chase Brown.
Yeah.
So I do love the pick now. I sold him before the NFL draft because I was like, Chase was what, a 4th round pick? And
yeah, probably around that.
I was like, that's usually like the cutoff range of any meaningful draft capital for a running back.
Yeah.
And you see guys like you see guys like Dameon Pierce, their rookie year, play really great, especially considering the capital that was invested in them, played well above the capital investment in them, and then they just get replaced.
Yeah, James Robinson.
You see that almost every year, and that was my concern with Chase.
Yeah.
But their off-season moves kind of reinforce the fact that like Chase is their guy.
He's absolutely their guy.
And I think my only concern is his durability, but honestly, he put that to rest a lot last year because he stayed pretty healthy compared to how much of a workload they were giving him.
Yeah, and like you said, the late round, the day 3 running back is always, it's all you're waiting for the shoe to drop.
It's a scary.
Yeah, and that's why
it's a scary investment to make.
And with Tyrone Tracy, he was great with his opportunity last year, but I was like, they're probably going to add somebody. It's such a stacked running back class. Yeah. They added Scadaboo, obviously in the 4th round, which is Tracy was a 5th round pick. So it's a similar capital. Yeah. So you're not as worried, but James Robinson was great as a rookie, tossed to the side.
Yeah. Dameon
Pierce, all these guys. I had one more on my tongue. I've lost it, but the team needs to prove to you that they believe in them. You know what I mean? Like Kyron Williams, even like before this contract that he signed this offseason, people were still saying, oh, now Jarquez Hunter is going to replace him. Like yeah. It takes so long for these not like subpar prospects who were drafted on day 3 to finally be in a position where you can say, okay, he's the guy. And so I kind of want to get ahead of the Chase Brown thing, because I think if he gives them a similar season to what he did in like the last 9 weeks of last year, he could get an extension. Obviously, he's in his 3rd year now, right? Last year was year 2.
I think. For Chase Brown?
Yeah. He wasn't a rookie last year.
I thought he was a rookie last year.
Oh, I could be wrong.
I'm almost positive.
Okay, let me see. Well, while I'll quickly find this, I think we've exhausted
from the dynasty perspective of those 4th round and later running backs.
No, last year was year 2. He did nothing as a rookie. He played 12% of the snaps.
Gotcha. So almost like a redshirt year.
Yeah.
As a dynasty owner, when I saw Chase Brown popping off, I'm like, I'm selling him. I got burned by Dameon Pierce so bad 2 years ago. I bought him so much that offseason, and then he just like plummeted. Mm-hmm. How tempting is it to sell off those 4th round and later running backs when you see him pop? Because I'm like, I see dollar signs, and I'm just like, give me a future first. Maybe sprinkle on another kind of dart throw player. But I would almost rather punt that asset to another year, just because of the concern of those higher drafted running backs kind of fizzling out.
Yeah, I think it's about the windows and what value you can get. For me, Chase Brown was being valued, like his value after the draft did not increase, at least from what I saw. Like he was getting sold. What I was going to sell him for pre-draft is exactly what I was able to buy him for post-draft. So obviously I didn't know that was going to happen. The reason I bought so much of him is because his price didn't go up. But I was like, he's being valued in January, February, March as if he's the guy in this backfield. And I didn't believe that to be 100% true. So I was sort of selling him as what I thought his max value was. And because he's a late round guy, because he wasn't a great prospect, he's never going to be in the Gibbs, Genty, Hampton value range. So I think it's just about the window. I didn't think that his I thought his value could only go down, is what I was saying. So I sold him.
I think if you see him put up another RB1 season this year, I think his value can go up. Because you saw it with like Arian Foster. Arian Foster was a very, very late round running back, I think he was undrafted. Put up 2 RB1 seasons, and then his value just like skyrocketed.
Yeah, Eckler is a similar one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Who we may be talking about a bit later.
Okay.
That's a tease. That's a hook to keep people invested.
Go. Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
I genuinely think that Chase Brown could be the RB1 this year. I think that's.
I think he has with that offense and kind of the production profile he put up last year. I think we could easily see it.
Yeah. And in that case,
so I do like that player pick. Even though I was a Chase Brown hater this offseason.
And I think that because that's what I project as a possibility, and he's getting drafted right now at like in the second round of redraft leagues. And if he puts up that type of production, they might just stick with him. It's like the fact that they didn't, obviously we don't know how the draft goes. Maybe they wanted to take a running back and then a team 3 picks in front of them took Quentin Sean, whatever, right? But I might just bet on maybe next offseason I sell a few shares before the draft. And then if he gets, you can kind of play in the seasons of Dynasty.
Yeah.
And, like you could have eliminated all your risk pre-draft and then bought it all back with no risk because the draft had passed.
Yeah. I do think the Bengals had their hands tied a little bit in the draft because I don't think they could have afforded to draft a running back with the top 3 picks after the performance of their defense.
Yeah, their defense was so bad. They needed to just hammer the but I thought, but then they brought in all the guys on visits and I was like, they're going to do it, So, I mean, who knows?
I guess, go ahead.
I think that it felt like a bullet dodged for Chase Brown, but I've just been riding this high of like, he's now the guy, workhorse, no competition in the backfield. And I think he's going to absolutely fly this year.
In the Dynasty perspective, I think if their defense takes a step up this year and maybe this next offseason they sign some, I guess they probably won't be able to sign much. But I think if a lot of their draft class that they invested into defense, if it takes a step up this year, and they're afforded the opportunity to be able to use that any future draft capital for a top 3 pick for a running back, I guess I'd be concerned if their defense takes a step up this year and develops, that they then have the flexibility to be able to spend that draft capital on a running back. I feel like we could be going into next offseason having the same dilemma as a Chase owner where it's like, is this my time to sell? I do not know.
Yeah, and I would not want to be going into the draft with 50% exposure in Dynasty Leagues to Chase Brown with any possibility in my head that he could get replaced or at least put into a committee.
That feeling of watching the NFL draft and you're just like,
it's the worst.
The Bengals are on the clock. You're like, God, please don't take a running back.
Not Quinn Sean. Yeah, exactly. All right.
And then you get the Seahawks taking Charbonnet, and you're just like, dang it. Like, all my Kenneth Walker shares.
And Kenneth Walker was good. Like, it can happen to anybody. You know what I mean? Like, he was a good prospect who you never thought for a million years would be replaced, and he hasn't really. Charbonnet's just been a glorified backup. But let's go to your first team here.
Yeah, so I kind of want to tackle 2 teams at once. Because their situations are incredibly identical, which is the Bears and the Jaguars. And I know they're probably it's kind of a chalk pick to pick them as the storylines to watch heading into week 1. But I think both teams are just so interesting to see how their offense looks this first week and how much growing pains will be. Because both teams have a new head coach coming in. Both teams have a new offensive-minded head coach, so it means totally new offensive schemes coming in. And you also saw both teams bring in that offensive coach and then basically handpick the players they want to bring into their system. They both went out and made an effort where the Bears added Luther Burden, Loveland, Monangai, already to Odunze and DJ Moore. So their offense is like locked and loaded, ready to go. Their offensive line is a top 5 offensive line in the league right now. So they already have Darnell Wright and Braxton Jones, who are like, last year played pretty good. If they develop at all this year, they're going to be some maulers on the line. And then they went out and added Joe Tooney, Jonah Jackson, Drew Dalman, just to beef up that offensive line further. So we're looking at an offensive unit with obviously the 101 pick with Caleb Williams. They added Colston Loveland. They added Burden. They already have a top 5 offensive line. I'm so interested to see kind of like one, how the split works out with the running backs. We know Swift was with Ben Johnson and with the Lions, and didn't seem like he was on Ben Johnson's good side for
No.
most of the time. But they also didn't go out and make an effort to bring in anybody else. So I don't know. I don't know if you have any thoughts on the running back workload there. I think Swift could be a sneaky buy right now because it seems like he's pretty cheap to be had.
Yeah.
And if he's going to be running behind a top five offensive line with a offensive mind like Ben Johnson calling the plays, combined with the talent on the outside, so defenses can't just stack the box. I feel like he's like, if he's the guy, I could see him having a solid RB2 production for your team. And he's also incredibly cheap to buy right now.
Yeah, I think he was another guy going into the draft. A lot of people were mocking Genty to the Bears at 10. It
Yeah.
was like a lot of people liked that fit. And then they had the Bears had those 2 picks in the second round. And a lot of people were going, that's a Travion or a Quinshawn or a Caleb Johnson spot. And he dodged that as well. They take Monangai in the 7th round, he's just a bit of a brawler. Like he's kind of like a pinball out there, not very athletic.
I consider him the Honda Civic of running backs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
he's dependable, but not flashy at all.
No. And
if you need 3.5 yards a carry, he's got you.
Which is why I'm thinking maybe Swift loses a little bit of goal line. But I think he could absolutely he absolutely has the 3 down role out the gates here. Roschon has not been mentioned at all this offseason. Ben Johnson, the GM, like they're not saying anything about Roschon. He's just like, he might as well be dead.
He's just kind of dropped off the radar completely.
Yeah, so Swift is competing with a 7th round rookie who was not a good prospect. Maybe he loses a little bit of goal line, but if Swift is the 3 down guy between the 20s, I think that could be very valuable. It's all about how you value him, right? Like I don't think it's a long-term dynasty play, but if you need a RB2 and RB3 on a contending team this year, I think he's a great target. I wouldn't pay more than a my own second on a contender though.
I was gonna say, what would your price be for a guy like Swift?
Yeah, like
because I think if you want to buy him for a second, I feel like your window is right now. Because if he does come out week 1 and he puts up 70 to 80 yards and maybe gets in for a touchdown, I feel like his value's immediately going to go up to like early second, late first range, just because they see the production opportunity there.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think he maybe doesn't. Everybody's worried about the weapons, right? You got the 4 guys there: DJ, Adunze, Burden, Loveland. How is that going to get split up? Swift, I don't think he has to deal with that as much. Like Ben Johnson loves to design the short targets to his, like Luther Burden is a perfect like Amon-Ra St. Brown clone in terms of the yards after catch, the short area stuff. But I think, so maybe the Swift passing volume, the outlook for that isn't incredible, but I definitely think you're right in terms of like he could have a big game week 1 and play 85% of the snaps and his value skyrockets immediately.
We could also see Burden take some workload from Swift.
Yeah, well,
because there's been reports of Burden lining up in the backfield.
DJ Moore.
He kind of has that Debo build. So I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we see Swift as more like Swift getting 55, 60% of the touches, and then the remaining kind of split between maybe a few touches from Monangai to kind of give some guys some breathers. Maybe Burden on some jet sweeps, out of the backfield type stuff. And instead of it being a Gibbs, David Johnson split that we're looking at, it would be more, or Dave Montgomery, David Johnson, throwback. David Montgomery split, it could be, I feel like that other kind of floating 30 to 40% of touches get split between wide receivers in motion, manufacturing touches with them, and then maybe some to Monangai. I don't see Roshan has been
Yeah.
so quiet this offseason.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine him cutting into a meaningful workload.
And I also just think it's established that DeAndre Swift isn't very good. So this is purely a volume play, right? And an offensive environment play where we saw like he got bombed out of Detroit, and Ben Johnson was the offensive coordinator.
The comments by Ben Johnson out of Detroit was that he was soft.
Yeah.
And that's why they brought in David Montgomery.
Yeah, not great.
So I think that's going to be interesting watching the Bears. Kind of everyone's already on the Bears as the most interesting team to watch because of that. But I think they just have like, if I'm a Caleb Williams owner, I'm stressing this season because if he can't produce with a elite offensive line that he has now, all of those wide receiver weapons, the tight end, the play caller, then I feel like we could see Caleb's stock just plummet this year if he can't produce under that circumstance.
Absolutely. Like a lot of the talk last offseason was no quarterback has ever come into a situation this good. Right?
Yeah.
With these many weapons after they added Rome Odunze, and they had Keenan, right? And it just didn't go very well. And Caleb, if he's just not good, it's not going to matter, right? But then again, like Ben Johnson makes Jared Goff look incredible. So what I think is it may not look great, but towards the end of the season, I think that maybe it's sort of this slow burn the first month and a half. Maybe they get their bye week, and heading towards the end of the season, it starts to look a little better, and then year 2, maybe he explodes. I think that might be a realistic timeline there, because a lot of I heard a lot of stuff out of camp too about like, oh, you can't just learn the Ben Johnson offense in one off season. This is gonna take some time, right? Because there's so much nuance and all this stuff, and so yeah, I think I have a few shares of Caleb. I think while his value could plummet, he could also be a top 8 startup pick this time next year.
Yeah. If he has a productive season, you kind of see him jumping up to like that. Say if you're having to debate between Mahomes and Caleb for fantasy,
sure,
kind of that range. If he ends up being pretty productive this year,
yeah, absolutely.
The other team is the Jaguars, who are obviously we're doing back-to-back teams talking about shit show running back rooms.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Because do you have any? If you had to bet who gets the most touches right now, who are you thinking out of this running back room?
Week 1.
I was thinking season long, but week 1 is a little bit spicier because I feel like week 1 is even more of a toss-up.
Yeah, I think
because we saw both Bigsby and Etienne split time with the starters. I think Etienne started on the starters week 1 of the preseason.
Yeah.
Week 2, Bigsby started with the starters.
Yeah, I think it's probably just Bigsby is the short yardage, first and second down primarily guy, and then Etienne is probably the third down pass catching, obvious passing situations, 2-minute drill type of back. Bigsby just hasn't caught any passes in his career. Like he's just never been a receiver. I know that he took like a screen to the house in the preseason or something. I think I saw. I may be misremembering, but I just think they're all going to be bad. And I think like one thing I've been thinking about is it not the most obvious thing in the entire world that Travis Etienne is Rachaad White and Bashal Tutin is Bucky Irving? You know what I mean?
I feel like Etienne is about as efficient as Rachaad White is when he's actually trying to run between the tackles.
That's been his problem his entire career. Even the year before last, he wasn't that efficient, and it got him into like top 10 dynasty running back rankings, and then he just sucked, and that was without somebody to take over. Like Tank Bigsby was fine last year, but he didn't take over the backfield. I think by the end of the year, Tutin absolutely could.
I like Bigsby as a runner the best. It seems like when he was in last year, handling a lot of the workload, it seemed like every time he touched the ball, he gained yards.
Yeah.
And whereas Etienne would get stuffed on so many runs. But I do see a lot of the reports from Camper that they've been splitting Etienne out wide to the slot, kind of working in more wide receiver reps. I struggled to just be like, same with the Ben Johnson effect when a offensive coordinator goes into a new team, being like, here's the scheme from the Lions. Burden is Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah.
Swift is Gibbs. I don't think good offensive coordinators operate that way. I think they go in, evaluate talent, and then mold a offensive scheme around the talent available. I think that's what the good offensive coordinators do and the good offensive coaches do. So I struggle to just think like Etienne is just Rachaad White, because I think Etienne's obviously more versatile and dynamic as a playmaker than Rachaad White is. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this workload shakes out with the running back room. I kind of think it'll be 50-50 in riding the hot hand kind of situation, which in that circumstance, I favor Etienne just because he'll have more usage in the passing game.
Yeah, I think it'll be like, I think the most likely outcome is that throughout the season, it's always like you can't really start any of these guys. Like, if in a desperation flex play, maybe you throw one out, and maybe in a game where they're favored, you play Bigsby. In a game where they're not favored, you play Etienne. But I just think it's going to sit and wait. It's going to be so muddy where Cohen is going to be just trying to figure out who is the guy here. And honestly, that's why I like Tootin the best out of the three, because I would rather just hold him, wait, and hope that, you know, like he obviously is crazy fast. He ran a 4.32 40. Maybe Cohen has a vision for him to take over this backfield that he came into, which is a little muddy. And so like if I'm on any team, if I can get a second for Etienne, like I don't think anybody's paying that, but you take that immediately.
I'd imagine most Etienne owners aren't selling for a second.
Really?
Like, it's almost like I'd rather go down with the ship. If it's an early second, maybe. Oh, wow. But if I had Etienne, I think I would wait and rather just hold him, because he is in a contract year, and hope for a better situation next year.
Yeah. That's fair.
I think, and honest, if I can get Etienne, I think I'm buying for that price.
Really? Like you'd pay
but I also bought Rachaad White, so take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I had a bunch of Rachaad White last offseason too.
But if someone wanted a mid-second for Etienne, and I'm on a team who could use a little bit more running back depth, and I could add him as my running back 4 or 5 and like as a spot flex, I think he's worth that price just for the depth on your team. Okay. And possible upside that he's able to carve out a significant role for himself.
Well, if I had any ETN shares, we would be able to talk, but I don't. So,
other than that, I think the team is interesting because they added some beef on the offensive line. They added Patrick McCarry from the Ravens and Robert Hainsey, who is a former Buck with Cohen's system. So I think that's going to help the running game there, because last year that offensive line was rough with the running game. So having a former O-line with Cohen and then adding McCarry is definitely going to help that team.
Yeah, I think, and Trevor Lawrence it's a similar career arc to Caleb Williams, at least the first little bit here where, number 1 pick, supposed to be the next, it's supposed to be
generational talent.
Exactly. And sort of hasn't lived up to the expectations yet. Trevor Lawrence might just not be great, and it doesn't matter that it was Doug Peterson and the college guy before that I can't remember his name. Who was the coach his rookie year?
Urban Meyer.
There we go. Yeah, like it could just
go
be.
Bucks.
There you go.
Perfect time to wear the OSU shirt. I honestly try to forget Urban Meyer existed in my memory.
Yeah, and maybe.
Oh, thanks for the national championships. That was fun.
There you go. Maybe Liam Cohen can make him a productive player. You know, he did great things for Baker, but I think the more interesting thing on this offense is Travis Hunter. And a big thing, obviously, all offseason has been, what is the usage going to be like? How much corner is he going to play? None of us want him to play any corner because we all just care about the offense.
Yeah, because that's not fun for Dynasty, for fantasy.
Exactly. And an interesting
keep him on the offense.
An interesting idea that I have that I haven't seen floated around a ton. A lot of people are like, okay, is it going to be 80 offense, 40 defense? Is it going to be 90 offense, 25 defense? He was listed on the NFL depth chart as a starter at wide receiver and as a backup at corner. Does that mean anything? Yeah. Who knows? What I think could potentially happen that could be awful for fantasy football is that he gets used differently based on the matchup. And what I mean by that is, like, if they're playing the Bengals, throw him on at corner and he touches the offense at the goal line maybe. Because you're playing a team with an awful defense that maybe all you need is Brian Thomas and the running game and a little bit of Brenton Strange to take them down. And then you would rather have him 100% of the snaps at corner, one-on-one with Jamar, right? And then you play a team like the Jets, whose offense is not great. You don't need him at corner, right? With Justin Fields slinging the rock. But then their defense is very good. And so you put him out there with BTJ and give your offense a little bit of an edge. And that would just be hell for trying to predict what's going to happen each week.
It's worth noting also that they brought in Diami Brown and also just traded for Tim Brown from the Lions.
Patrick.
So I think, yes, Tim Patrick, sorry. I think those moves kind of enforce what your thought piece is. Like, I do think there are going to be games where they're like, hey, our offense is good. We're moving the ball. Diami Brown and Tim Patrick can kind of pick up the slack and put them in. We need you more on defense. And I think that does make it tough for fantasy owners if that's going to be the case, because then you're just in like, everyone has those players where you're like, they could give you 15 points or they could put up a goose egg, and it could be one of those situations. I do think he has a bit more of a floor, because I can't imagine them just completely taking him out of the offense. I think it'll just end up being more scripted plays for him when he is in.
Yeah,
which could be fine. There could be a floor production there.
Yeah.
Even if he plays majority defense for a game.
Yeah, I just think
it's going to be tough to see how that plays out.
I just think that you might be in a situation where, sure, maybe you'll be able to predict it a little bit. Like I said, if it's a matchup where the opposing defense is really bad and their offense is really good, you're like, okay, oh shit. But even if you can predict that and you're like, oh, I'll just sit him this week, you don't want to sit a guy who is probably a top 3 talent wide receiver on your team. Right?
Yeah.
Like the number 2 overall.
It doesn't feel good.
A top 6
doesn't feel good spending a 104 rookie pick on a guy and then being like, yeah, you got to be on the bench.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel good as a dynasty owner.
Like Teteroa McMillan, he's going to be in your lineup in week 7 and 8 and 9 and 10.
Yeah.
I just think that, honestly, I only have one share and it's on a contender with a stacked roster, and so I'm feeling kind of fine about it. If I was relying on Travis Hunter, I don't think there's any harm in trying to move him on and get a different young wide receiver who you know is going to play all the snaps. It's just eliminating risk. Like, is there a world where he ends up playing 90% of the offensive snaps and is a top 5 fantasy wide receiver? Absolutely. A lot of other guys have that ceiling too. And so I would be absolutely fine trying to eliminate that risk and moving him on.
Transition into one of your player picks and kind of transition over there. Would you rather have Travis Hunter or Garrett Wilson?
In Dynasty,
which one do you feel more confident? Yes.
I would rather have Travis Hunter. I think
I lean Travis as well, just because I think he has more upside. But if you're worried about the defense side, like I feel like that's the range you'd be looking at to kind of swap him for.
yeah, and Garrett Wilson, I worry just because I don't think the season is going to go very well for him, and that'll carry over into his value next year. Like even if they have a top pick and they look to be drafting a rookie, it's going to be okay. It's a rookie quarterback. I think we're a few years away from Garrett Wilson being in a position where he can have 150 targets on a good offense. And so I think the outlook for Travis Hunter is a little better in that sense. I also just don't really like Garrett Wilson, so that's not necessarily a pro Travis Hunter take. It's more of just an anti Garrett Wilson thing.
Garrett Wilson will be 26 starting next year, which is also the point where dynasty owners start to devalue wide receivers.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he's sort of like a Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore mold, where it's always been, the quarterback sucks, and so this guy's so great, but he hasn't produced to his full potential because of the situation. The situation isn't any better this year, and that is a good segue into another guy that I really want to talk about. I'm a pro already. This is incredible.
That's how the professionals do it. Look at us go. Week 1, we're already dialed in.
Yeah, give me some dubs in the chat for that. So yeah, Justin Fields. I love Justin Fields for this season, and I think his dynasty price is worthy of that 1-year rental kind of vibe. So in 2022, Justin Fields had that stretch for the Bears where he completely broke fantasy, right? He averaged over 23 points per game. He was averaging over 90 rushing yards. The quarterback 5 in points per game in that it was a 12-week stretch from weeks 5 to 17 in 2022. And then in 2023, which was my first offseason playing Dynasty, he was like a 1-2 turn pick in startups. Super flex, obviously. And he's just been terrible for 2 years since. He sucked in 2023 on the Bears. They didn't finish last, but they had the Panthers pick. They were able to take Caleb Williams and they shipped him off to the Steelers for a 6th, right? And then he got benched for Russell Wilson in week 4 or whatever it was, right? So the taste in everybody's mouth is just really bad right now because of how awful he's been. But that 2-year stretch that I just talked about, 2023 and 2024, where the Bears sucked and Fields was bad, and then before he got benched for Russ, in the games that he started, he was the quarterback 7 in points per game. Isn't that insane? He was terrible. He was terrible the whole time. Awful. Not a good quarterback. We know he's bad, right? But he's the quarterback 7 in points per game because he's averaging almost 50 rushing yards and almost 9.5 rush attempts over that span per game. And I don't see any reason why that would change. He just loves to run, and he's just gonna run, and he's gonna be an absolute solid quarterback 2 on any roster for 2024, and he can be had for an early second, which is absolutely worth it if you're a contender for your quarterback 2. I have him on a team where my quarterback 2 was Sam Darnold, and I added Justin Fields. I have him on another team where my quarterback 2 was Brock Purdy, and I added Justin Fields. Where it's okay, I have the safer option, but just shooting for upside here and getting a guy who could finish as a top 8, top 10 quarterback while sucking. He's not going to play well, but we're playing fantasy football.
You don't want to watch the games.
Don't watch the games. Just watch the highlight where with a 60-yard touchdown,
Just don't watch the games.
And I just think that, and the other thing is, last year, he got benched because he wasn't good enough, right? He played fine. He wasn't that bad the first 4 games, but he got benched for Russell Wilson. The backup this year, it's Tyrod Taylor, and he just had a knee procedure. I just don't think there's any risk that he gets benched this year. I don't think there's a world in which Tyrod Taylor gives the Jets a better chance to win as a 36-year-old coming off a knee surgery than Justin Fields does. And so he should just start the games.
I think also the money they gave Fields, it wasn't elite starter status, but it wasn't insignificant. It's basically a high end backup money, but it's also a kind of a prove it money. It's a prove it contract. And I think the Jets need to find a quarterback. Like, you're in New York, you're a big market. You need to have a face of the organization. They brought in Rodgers, didn't work out for them. I think Fields was the best player available they could bring in. It was really this offseason, the big talk was like Fields or Darnold. They can't bring Darnold back.
Oh yeah, no, that was never going to happen.
No way they'd bring Darnold back, and Darnold wouldn't want to go back under that circumstance.
Yeah.
So they kind of just were a little bit shoehorned into taking Fields, and I don't think they can bench him this year. Like, if it's bad, it just has to be bad. But you have to find out if there's potential there for him to be a long-term solution there. Mm-hmm. And if not, you cut bait and try to re-roll your quarterback in the draft.
Yeah, and that's why I think
to find a guy out next off season.
Yeah, and I think for dynasty managers, if you can pay, even if it's a 1-year rental, go into it knowing that. And a second round pick for a guy who could win you your league from your super flex spot as your quarterback too, that's absolutely worth it.
I'd imagine I'd have to look on like the recent trades to see kind of what the price is he's going for. Mm-hmm. I would imagine his price is closer to a late first, would it not?
Let me see. I'm going to pull up Keep Trade Cut here, which is fine.
So what kind of recent trade?
To get a gauge for where he's being valued. So Justin Fields is right behind a 2025 early second on Keep Trade Cut. He's
Fields over that all day.
Yeah, he's like on
because he'll have selling windows this year where he's going to be worth more.
Absolutely.
So I think if you start at an early second, and if you get him for that, it's a smash, because I feel like it's almost guaranteed he's going to have a late first selling window at that value range at some point this season.
Yeah, he should absolutely.
If he isn't there already in your league.
The fact that he's being valued in terms of quarterback rankings, he's one spot ahead of Sam Darnold. It's like those, in terms of like chance to be bombed out of the league after this year, I think that's pretty equal.
Yeah, because if Darnold has an out in his contract where he can be essentially cut after the second year. Mm-hmm. So I like the Fields pick. I think his price is just pretty low for the production you can get out of him.
And I think the last thing I'll say about him in terms of the 1-year rental status, mid-season we pay that kind of price for 31-year-old, 32-year-old wide receivers and running backs who we know the end is near. But it's like, because he's young and he's a rental, somehow that makes him worse in people's heads. You know what I mean? It's like, well, he's 26 and I'm only getting him for a year. It's like, okay, but you'll buy a 32-year-old running back for a year. It's just because he's young and he's bad. It's like, it's just tough. But I think that if you just isolate it to fantasy football, he is an absolute good pick. I took him in the Flock League. He's my quarterback in the Flock League. So I'm gonna, my money is where my mouth is in a sense. So
if he doesn't pan out this year with, think he gets another contract, another starting gig?
I mean, maybe not. If he's really bad, like, probably not. But again, like I said, I don't even think that matters.
For the 1-year rental, I feel like a early second is a smash for that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, now before we get out of here, we're quickly gonna both talk about a team we're excited to watch in week 1 in this season. We're gonna do a few buy lows for Dynasty. We're going to give a quick Super Bowl pick, and then we'll get out of here. So, Tags, your team is?
My team is the Broncos. I think kind of similar to the other teams we talked about, it's the narrative of the second year in Sean Payton's offense, seeing how Bo Nix kind of take the training wheels off Bo Nix this year. We saw Sean Payton go out in free agency and kind of handpick the offensive weapons he wanted to bring into his system. He added Evan Ingram, added J.K. Dobbins, Harvey, Pat Bryant. We see Franklin and Mims kind of already in this situation, and we saw Sutton get the contract extension. I think that's a lot of offensive pieces coming in, along with a top 5 offensive line they've assembled there. And I think that offense is just locked and loaded, ready to go. I think J.K. Dobbins, as long as he stays healthy, is a solid high upside RB2. And it seems like he's slated to be the starter and get the primary of the roles there. Seems like they're kind of struggling with Harvey's struggling a little bit in pass protection. So I think we see J.K. Dobbins take the majority of snaps there and just hit the ground running behind that elite offensive line. So I'm excited to see that team play out and hopefully see Bo Nix take another step up in his year 2.
I really like that. I loved watching the Broncos at the end of last year and in the playoffs, even though they got killed by the Bills. Just a really fun story, a fun team. Bo Nix, nobody liked him.
Nobody expected them.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, my pick. I've been stewing on this one all summer, but I love the Panthers. I just love the Panthers, and I don't know.
Are you okay? Are you sick?
I know it's not healthy. So, the Bryce Young experiment obviously didn't go well in year 1. It wasn't good. Frank Reich got fired. Then they hired Dave Canales, offensive guy, guru type of guy, and it was bad. He gets benched for Andy Dalton. He only gets back into the lineup because Andy Dalton was in a car accident. It wasn't because Bryce was good in practice. It wasn't because Dalton was bad. It was because he got in a car accident. But then when he came back, he took a few weeks to get going, and this is a tiny sample size, so just bear with me. From weeks 12 to 18 last year, Bryce was a top 10 quarterback in points per game. Okay? He was running the ball a lot more, right? Their offensive line, when everything else sucked, their offensive line was really good. They invested in free agency a few years ago. They have a very good offensive line. The defense is not great. It should be getting better, but it was really bad last year. Should be a little better this year, but we know that bad defenses are great for fantasy. And now he adds a top 10 pick, a phenomenal prospect in Tet McMillan to this offense, who now with Thielen gone and Coker on the IR, Tet could get 15 targets in week 1. There's just nothing else. There's Xavier Legette, Hunter Renfrow. Like, this offense is ripe for the taking in terms of targets. I think that Bryce could finish as a top 12 quarterback. I think Tet could finish as a top 10 receiver in year 1. And Chuba Hubbard is a great running back. You know, he should get the majority of the carries. They brought in Rico Dowdle, who is a capable pass catcher and change of pace kind of guy. But Chuba last year, if you get rid of the first 3 weeks where Bryce started and the offense sucked, Chuba was top 10 in points per game. So I just think that, again, the combination of bad defense with Bryce taking another step, which I believe in him. First overall pick, and the size thing really messed him up in year 1 and the beginning of year 2. But he looked good at the end of last year, and I think he could just continue to carry that on with now the best pass catcher that he's ever had in his offense. I just think the Panthers could be I think they could surprise some people. I think the Panthers could make the playoffs. I just think that I'm just really excited to watch this team.
I don't know if I can be associated with this podcast anymore. I don't want to be around. I don't want to be around anymore.
This is gonna be every week. The Panthers are gonna be 0-8, and I'm gonna have to come on here and defend Bryce Young.
You're like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
I do think Ted's just gonna be a volume monster this year.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets close to that 100 reception range. just by pure necessity in that offense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's wild how Bryce went from, we had a whole stretch last season where he got benched, and people are like, I don't think he's going to like play another game in the NFL. There's some analysts that were like, what's maybe best for him is to go to the CFL, be productive in the CFL, try to work his way back into the NFL. And then Dalton got injured in a freak car accident, and he just like his stock exploded ever since then.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a fascinating story, and I think with that defense, he's going to have to ball out.
Yeah.
So there's almost forced production in the fact that like they're going to be playing from behind most games because they didn't do anything to address their defense the entire offseason.
Just a few draft. Well, they signed the Chiefs defensive tackle. Is it Wharton? Maybe they signed somebody on the D line, but they didn't do a lot. You're absolutely right, and like a few late round draft picks, but everybody thought it was going to be defense with the pick that they took Tet with, right? And so you're absolutely right. It could be a Bengals light situation where the defense just sucks, and so they have to throw the ball. Who is your first buy low here?
Oh man. Yeah, I figured we'd just follow up the Panthers with one that you may think is also equally as smelly. My buy low is Austin Eckler from the Commanders.
I love it. I love it.
Not only because I ran into him, shout out Austin Eckler, about a month ago and got to talk football with him. His comment to me, I was asking about the running back room there and like how it's shaping up for the season. He was like, man, these like young guys are like making me have to hustle again. And I think that's what he's going to do. I think they shipped off Brian Robinson because they believe Eckler can pick up a lot of that same production. And then I think Ja'Cory Krosky, good old Bill, and Chris Rodriguez are going to mix in. But I think they've already listed Eckler as the RB1. They've already come out saying that they believe he can handle a full workload. And last year, Eckler, he averaged 3.4 targets per game, which he was productive last year when needed. Like I had to fill him in on a flex on a couple games.
Me too.
And he was surprisingly decent. He was great in the passing game. He led all running backs last year with 12.1 yards after the catch per reception, which is wild for a running back. And also ranked third in yards per route run at 2.6 yards per route. So I think if you need a very cheap running back 2 that can also fill in as like a high upside flex, I think Eckler is going to be your guy this year. So that's kind of my buy low this year because I think he can. Do you think he can be had for a third, maybe 2/3?
I think it depends on who you're buying him from. I think if it's a team, I think that's more likely. Yeah, like I think right now, no, maybe 2/3 to like a rebuilder. But like if I
or
have
at the most like a late second,
which I think I'd be fine to send for a bench slash flex play, especially in a PPR league. Which I don't know if the listeners are aware, but somebody may have drafted Austin Eckler in the Flock League, and it is a PPR league, and I'm excited.
There we go, the crossover.
Yes, exactly. All right.
But yeah, that's my first buy low.
I love the pick. I'm going with a running back as well, who it's Jordan Mason is my buy low. So last year, he didn't really play a ton as the main feature back in the Niners offense, but he did at the beginning of the year for the first 5 weeks before McCaffrey came back, and then Mason himself got injured as well. But he was really good. He averaged over 16 points per game, 5.15 yards per carry, in a really good scheme. The Niners weren't great last year, but it's a good offense, relatively. And he's in that same situation now. The Vikings have a very good offensive line. It's a very good scheme. O'Connell is a very good play designer. And what the biggest thing for me about Jordan Mason is the way that they acquired him. So instead of drafting a running back in a running back class that people are saying was the best in a decade, they decided to trade for 26-year-old Jordan Mason and then immediately extend him. And this is funny. He is making over, on average annual value, over $5 million a year, which is the same as Najee Harris. It's more than Austin Eckler. It's more than what Javonte got from the Cowboys. And I just think this isn't a backup contract. And all of the talk from Kevin O'Connell in the offseason has been how it's a 1A, 1B, and how Mason was brought in to spell Aaron Jones, who had the most usage of his entire career last season, more than he ever had in Green Bay. And so, in my opinion, in the worst case, he's like a short yardage and goal line running back, right? Who can get you those tough yards, where you don't want 31-year-old Jordan Mason taking all that punishment. And if Aaron Jones gets injured, or if at some point Mason just takes over and it ends up being like 60-40 the other way and that increases, in this offense, he's shown that in a good scheme, he can produce RB1 numbers. So I just think that you're paying for his floor, and he can't get much worse and he can only get better.
Yeah, I could easily see Aaron Jones kind of shifting to a more change of pace back compared to the lead guy. And Vikings camp kind of expressed that they don't want Jones to be the lead guy.
Yeah, they want
him to be change of pace, the explosive guy, and to really kind of save him for the season. And all of us CMC owners last year, who also picked up Jordan Mason from the wire. Yeah. Those few games where he was in, he was just such a hammer. And he's such a fun running back to watch too, because has like deceptive speed. He's not slow. He's got a little bit of speed, and he just has so much power, and he's a perfect complement to Aaron Jones.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I think that if he can be had for like a second round pick, I would pay that right now. On a contender, I need an RB.
I think he's very valuable depth to a running back room if you need it, and also should be a valuable flex play throughout the season.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So yeah. I dig it.
Let's get to your other buy low.
Well, this one might not be a buy low anymore because everyone's kind of keying in on it now. But it's Dak. Okay. Dak has to be this year's Joe Burrow. Like, I see him finishing as a QB5, QB6, QB7 range, that mid to upper tier QB1. Mm-hmm. Them sending off Parsons is obviously a huge blow to their defense. Defense that already kind of struggled last year to stop people, even with Parsons. If you look at their numbers with and without Parsons, their defense takes a huge drop without Parsons in. And I think that team is kind of built to air it out. They don't have any meaningful investment in running back. They have Javonte Williams, and it's hard to really see how effective Javonte Williams is going to be. So I think CD and Pickens. I think Pickens is also a great buy right now. I think both of them are just going to eat and also Jake Ferguson.
Yeah.
Like, if you need a starting tight end and you're stuck with, you just kind of like didn't grab one of those top guys, especially in redraft. If you didn't get a top guy at the draft, my favorite tight end buys are like Hunter Henry and Jake Ferguson, because they're both going to be fed a lot of targets and they're going to get the volume. So I feel like every single piece on the Cowboys is kind of a buy low, because there's just going to need to have so much offensive production, given their lack of defensive talent.
Yeah, I love it. I think they could absolutely be this year's Bengals from last year, where the defense is just so bad that they're in these games where they have to score 30 plus points if they want to win. And Dak is very capable, and he has two very good receivers. I mean, it's yet to be seen if Pickens is good, but two should be capable receivers, and Jake Ferguson is a fine tight end. And it should be interesting to see who emerges, if anybody, in that running back room as well. Like we saw with Chase Brown last year for the Bengals, whether that's Jaden Blue or
no Jaden Blue or Miles Sanders hype.
Yeah. I mean, I think that Devontae, it's a mess there, right? And I think that, but somebody should emerge as if the offense is as good as we're talking about right now, somebody is going to be usable.
Yeah, and we're only 1 year removed from Dak being QB3 overall.
Yeah. Oh, it's absolutely easy. And
last year, he obviously missed a lot of time with about half the season. Mm-hmm. But the year before that, he finished QB3. So we already know he can finish as a top 5 QB. And I just feel like he's a lock this year to finish top 6.
Yeah. I love it. All right. Now, before we get out of here, we're going to each give a Super Bowl pick for us to come back to. So I don't know what you did. I gave my winner and also who loses on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have the same thing?
Yep.
Okay. I'm happy to go first.
You want to start who's your NFC?
So my NFC champion is a team that I believe will have a huge bounce back after a very mediocre 2024. The San Francisco 49ers.
Really?
I think Ricky Pearsall is the truth. I think McCaffrey. I think this is a bet on Christian McCaffrey as well. I think
Are they swapping out the turf in their home stadium?
I think he stays healthy. The defense will be better with Robert Saleh there now, and I just think they have a complete bounce back. They have the easiest schedule in the league, and I think they ride that to a really good record. And I think that they will. I think they'll go to the Super Bowl. I do think they will lose, however. And that's going to be to the Baltimore Ravens. I think Lamar gets his chip finally after being so good for so long. It's them or the Bills. I think these teams are just so due. People say it every year, but I think that the Ravens are built for this. They are a Mark Andrews drop away from the AFC Championship game last year.
What a brutal play.
Awful. And so I think the Ravens beat the Niners in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's also his second year under Zach Orr, the defensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. I think that team just has the perfect mix of elite talent, veteran leadership, youth, and depth on their roster. Like it's hard to find a spot on their team and poke a hole in it where it's like, oh, this is a weakness.
Yeah.
They're just an overall just well-rounded team. And I also have them picked to win the Super Bowl for the AFC.
All right.
My NFC champion is the Buccaneers.
I like it.
So another year in Todd Bowles' defense. The defense just so good. They added so much depth to their defense. They have a top 5 elite offensive line. I think they're kind of built to counter the Eagles in that way. I think their offensive line can go toe-to-toe with the Eagles' defensive line. They obviously added Egbuka. Everyone's really excited for him joining the offense. Godwin's hopefully going to come back healthy by week 5 or 6, but really, just keep him healthy for the playoffs. Mm-hmm. They've got so much offensive talent. You have Jalen McMillan as your wide receiver 4, who was incredibly productive last year when you needed him. Mm-hmm. Cade Otton's solid on offense as well. Obviously, you have Bucky and Rashad White running it back. I think that team is just overall so well built and has so much depth that I think they can come out of the NFC on top.
I like it. I really like the pick. The Bucs are so fun. Baker is such a good story. He's so fun to watch. You can't hate Baker. He's just the best.
I know this is a flawed way of thinking, but I was really torn between the Lions or the Buccaneers. And it's funny because both teams are built so similarly. But it came down to can I see Baker hoisting the NFC Championship trophy, or do I see Goff doing it? And my heart goes with Baker.
I like it.
It's a more fun storyline,
Yeah.
and I think that team is just so well rounded defensively and offensively that I think they're just very well built to handle the NFC as a whole.
But you do think they'll lose to the Ravens, right?
Yeah.
The pick. All right. So we have the same pick. A little boring, but whatever. What are you gonna do? We didn't talk about it beforehand. All right. I think that does it for our first episode here. We're gonna have this on YouTube, obviously. So hit the subscribe, hit the like. Come back next week. We're gonna try and get everything onto like the Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that kind of stuff. So keep an eye out for that if that's your preferred platform. Do you think I missed anything, Tags? No, we're all
Crushed it.
All right. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.